Let's go look at it. Okay, let's see. Um, uh,
Oh, that one, yeah.
yeah, I think it's smoother. Yeah, yeah. I think it's working smooth on my end. Well, it's better than it was. Like before, it was just absolutely fucked. So now at least it's seems to mostly be working. Yeah.
Okay.
try we'll
All right.
try go with that. I suppose. Yeah.
Okay, that looks better to me, yeah.
Yeah. I think. Oh, so that was a shame. We technical difficulties with the other one. I'll maybe try and Google that like later and see what's going on.
Yeah.
But for now, we'll just have to go with this.
All right then.
Or hopefully
Hello,
it's a local.
everybody.
I think everyone who would have been here would have went away when it was absolutely fucked. So we'll just have to see about people coming
Hello,
back.
nobody.
Well, anyway, we'll just try dive into things. Hopefully, it's that'll just have to do. So fuck me, man. You really think
Okay.
there's so many problems with something so so simple? Anyway, we'll dive in and yeah, it'll just have to be the back to the normal one until I can work out what's going on. So let's try pick up from kind of some of the points from last time then. So we've
Okay.
stuck with the same question. We've went with, do you think you have free will? So I thought the most interesting point getting gathered from last time was that kind of discussion of, well, how much do you have something if you can't exercise it? That I thought that was a really interesting point. Also, Lydia is here with three cats. You'll probably like this, by the way. This is
Oh,
my new. This is a new cat top. Like, hopefully you can see it. That's the eyes. That's the ears. It's from Croatia. So it's a new cat top. Also, can I owls? How's that an owl? It's not an owl. That's definitely a cat. I was gonna ask you as well. You're probably more technically uh, competent. All right, those are owls. Yeah, I guess.
I thought they looked like weird cats. Actually, they look like kind of angry or bus.
Okay, owls. Yeah, I'm very probably used to it being cats. Also, Owens Clan is here with five Santa Claus heads.
Yes, I could see them
Welcome
today.
back.
That's
Yeah, I was gonna ask you guys, anyone that can help. We just had a disastrous attempt at using the sort of Streamlabs OBS. I don't know if you've done any streaming or you know about it, but we tried to switch across to that one so that we could have like an overlay and try make it look kind of a bit different. See how that works. Yeah, you use that, okay. But for some reason, the connection was just awful. It was like really laggy. I think the connection is quite poor anyway here, but it made it just like terrible. So I don't know if you know anything about why that happens or if it's a way to fix it. But for now, I've just switched back to the normal OBS and we'll just sort of shoot from here. Um, yep, yep. So, yep. Still, obviously trying to work things out on the stream. Still trying to get things going. But yeah. So hope you guys are well. Hope everyone's fine. We were talking last night about do you think you have free will? And got into quite a discussion near the end. A lot of different ideas kind of popping up. You weren't there, Lydia. So what how would you answer that question? Do you think you have free will? What's your perspective on the whole thing? And Michelle's, what are you saying? You're very quiet. Are you still there?
I'm still here. Yeah, I was just letting you speak.
All right,
Um, yeah, I'm here.
all right. Go ahead. You had something to say.
Did I?
Yeah, I predict you do.
Okay.
Well, no, I was going to say, what did you think of that idea that So Prime was saying that you know you
Yeah.
have free will as much as you're able to actually exercise it. What did you think of that?
Well, it was really interesting actually. It's a very good point. At first, I was kind of thinking like against that point. Kind of like, well, you still have free will. Um, because you can still do it. Like, it's not impossible. You could still choose to do something. However, when we were talking about after the stream, we kind of went on to speaking about freedom of speech, and when we spoke about it in that light, I could be like, oh yeah, because if you can't really have freedom of speech without being able to actually speak freely.
Right, yeah.
So it's interesting. It's definitely a good perspective on it, and to me, it's a freedom of speech one.
Jeez, I think we need to move back to the Skype as well. I mean, fuck me. Not having a good
Okay.
time with I don't know. It keeps going between that, and then you were just being very robotic there for like the last 20 seconds. It just keeps being terrible.
Right, I'm just gonna get off this then.
Well, no, it's fine. Wait a sec. Right, let's test it.
I think it's this thing that's shit. Because
Is
it
it?
wasn't like this.
Fuck me. Sorry for the profanity, but Jesus fuck, I'm getting pretty annoyed. Now it seems to be okay though. Well, just speak a little
No,
bit
not
again. Yeah, just start speaking a little bit so we can see.
Okay, so I thought that Soul Prime's idea was interesting.
Okay. Yeah, it seems alright now. Fingers crossed. I don't know. Let's try that.
So did you hear what I said? No.
Yeah, I think we had bits of it. Well, it just kind of got robotic at times, but I could hear that you were saying that's it was interesting in the sense that if you can't actually use it, then how much free will do you have? And I was going to say we also were talking about, well, it's similar to having, does free will implies unrestricted choice sort of, and it'd be like having the choice to choose to pay your taxes or not. It's like you do have that choice, and you easily can choose not to if you want to. Like you definitely can not pay them, but then you're going to jail. So is that really like a free choice? Do you have free will to exercise there or not? Is the kind of thing. And I think it was interesting because it's looking at it from the perspective of the inherently having something called free will, and then the ability to exercise it seems to be like the two different ways you can kind of look at it. Owens Clan says that free will versus fate and political freedom are two topics. Do you think they're two separate topics, or do you mean they're sort of two things that are intertwined as well? And also, Lydia's just with the technical advice saying Streamlabs OBS is probably using the default stream settings, and that's maybe why it's lagging. Try setting up based on how much bandwidth you have spare. I use 1800 bitrate in the Funland because the connection here can't handle much more than that. So maybe there's something to tweak. I think I let it do some kind of optimization or something like that. I also tried to click the little tick box that said optimize settings or whatever it says. But maybe I need to actually go in and actually change a few numbers, change a few things, and see if we can get it working. But we'll stick with this for now. It's not like it's absolutely necessary. It was just to try out, see if it's a little bit different. Have the chat box and all that sort of good stuff going. Sorry, what were you saying?
Me?
Yeah, I can't tell if you're there because it's so quiet.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything. I'm just letting you speak because if I speak, it goes all over you and whatever. So
yeah, I'm just sort of checking you're there with the whole lag thing to make sure that you haven't just cut off or whatever as well.
Yeah.
Jeez, oh. Right. So, the topics are separate, says Owens Clan. So, what was your main opinion, Owens Clan, on the question last night? If I remember, you were more of a proponent of the fact that we do have free will. Am I right in thinking that? And also, Lydia, what's your answer to the question as well? Do you mind sharing, please, if you please, your thoughts on that matter? I'm sure you have much to say. Yeah, because I think we started off with the kind of idea that we seem to have free will. That seems to be the case. But what I've always found interesting is it does sort of seem to depend when we look at ourselves. We look at ourselves in the present. I think we very much do believe that we're making choices actively. I think that we're in control. But when we look at ourselves perhaps in the past, it's almost as though we say, well, I was influenced by that, it wasn't really me making the choice, this and this happened, And in retrospect, we almost sort of relinquish some of that. Did you seem to think that was the case as well, or?
Yeah, I think as well well, one, it's kind of hard to see what you're in the present, but also if you are being controlled by something, you don't really want to admit that. Because if you do admit that, well, you have to really look at it and then decide, do I want to be controlled by whatever it is? And then probably the answer would be no most of the time, and then you would have to change something. So I wonder if there's a bit of that going on.
Right, yeah, it's not exactly like, I don't think it's most people's, a pleasant thought in most people's mind to imagine that they're not in control of themselves, right?
Yeah.
And it's quite like almost deeply offensive in most circumstances to say that someone is not self-autonomous, to imply that, you know, they don't choose things, is to basically say that they're sort of, you know, well, incapable and maybe not, you know, yeah, it's just something people probably could take offence to, for example, as well. I do think that's the case.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, Owensclown was more proponent that we do have free will, in your imagination. But have you ever noticed the distinction between, you know, looking at yourself in the past versus the present? Have you ever, you know, noticed there might be a difference in how much you consider you have control? I mean, it's obvious you can't change or control the past now, but just the way you look at it does appear to be different in terms of how you choose to do things. Um, I mean, also interesting to consider is the fact that we do have a conscious mind and then like a subconscious mind, and I think it would definitely, it would seem that like the conscious mind is the one that we attribute to having the ability to exercise free will, but perhaps it's the subconscious mind that is the one that doesn't, you know, that kind of determines things for us and acts in ways that we're not really monitoring, aren't, you know, we're not really actively involved in how that decides to play things out. So do you think that's sort of evidence
Especially if
for
it
a
suits
mixture
us
or
as well.
sorry?
Sorry. Especially if it suits us as well. Whatever we're doing at the time, if that suits us, then it's not going to go noticed.
What do you mean, sorry? Just give us an example.
Um, if it suits you, okay, sorry. Like if it suits you to be going out drinking alcohol every weekend
Right.
and partying and stuff, then you're not going to question things because it suits you. I don't know. I'm not really explaining it very well. But I think it's just going to go unnoticed, isn't it? Because you're just doing it and you're fulfilling a need which would probably be your kind of subconscious that's kind of driving.
Right. So then you're not, you know, that's to imply that you're sort of again the puppet on the string. And interesting enough, we were trying to look at it through the lens of, say, addiction, and trying to, you know, pose the question as to how much free will can someone who's addicted exercise for themselves over that. You know, are they're almost being led by the addiction to perform their actions. Now, again, you might say, well, they can choose. Say it's smoking, for example. They could choose to stop smoking. They can choose when they want. And in the ultimate sense, I suppose that's true. But because of the way the addiction affects the brain, it does pose some interesting questions in terms of how that affects your capacity to, yeah, exercise your will. And again, that might point towards the fact that we all have differing degrees of ability to exercise free will. I don't think it's maybe as black and white. I'm kind of leaning towards the suspicion that it might be one of these things on a spectrum in which you can obtain or sort of learn to exercise more and more free will the more you practice it. And it's definitely not just something, I don't think you're just ascribed to at birth. I don't think you're just born with this ability. I think it's something you have to sort of learn how to use. What do you think of that?
Overcoming an addiction would be a good thing for your free will development?
See the interesting thing that then people usually describe that as willpower. So that seems to be like a different term altogether, doesn't it? Like, you know, and willpower is usually what people just, you know, say is what you need to be able to overcome addiction. So the question is, how does willpower differ from free will? Does willpower imply the kind of, again, the level of control you have of your free will, the level as to which you can exercise it, perhaps? Because when you say power, that's sort of to me.
Or maybe the difficulty of
What was that? Sorry, I just completely missed that bit.
I'm saying, or maybe it's the difficulty of the difficulty of the task.
How difficult it is to overcome, say,
Can
an
you hear me?
addiction. Is that what you're saying, or?
Yeah, God, it's fucking balls.
It's fucking
Yeah, so
makes me
for
want to die.
example, like I think people would
Yeah. Right.
consider.
Yeah.
Are
No.
you ready?
Well, we got. I got people would consider. Like.
Heroin
Yeah. Heroin.
to be a hard thing to overcome.
Mhm.
So you would need a lot of willpower to overcome that.
Right.
So
So.
I think it's based on the level of difficulty of the task. Yeah.
Okay, and that's what willpower talks about. Let's read some of the comments. Lydia here says that I think a lot of people think that their subconscious is in control of them, and we don't really know enough about it scientifically, so it's kind of hard to say. Um, yes, I guess you're right in the sense it's harder to explore than, say, what science is usually looking at, which is something that's very objective, something that has um, some grounding in reality, something that's an object or is there, or we can observe it. So obviously, when we're talking about something like consciousness or subconsciousness, as you said, it's not really something that's in that plane, is it? And not only that, with the human, with the mind, it's got the ability to sort of obscure realities, change how it thinks, it adapts, it changes. It's not something that's easily pinned down, if that makes sense. Whereas usually when we're observing things in the natural world, there's some contingency to it, there's some kind of rule, but obviously minds and consciousness are so different as well amongst people.
Well, yeah. If you even take like the. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, no, it's alright. Just read out the comments.
Well, I was going to say, Owens Clan says that we have conscious minds that make choices. That's free will. And Will Smith. Someone's online. Bye. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. uh, thanks for popping in. I think there's 5 Santa Claus is, which I believe denotes. Is that a goodbye? Well, I'm not sure.
Or a hello.
It was hellos.
No, it was something
Maybe it's both. I mean, I think people use ciao as kind of both, don't they? Or what's that other one? Like aloha. That's kind of both, isn't it? So I'm not sure. Wallens Clan's still sending faces. I don't know. Still there, I think. Not too sure if you mean you're going or what. If you're going, then thanks for popping in. If not, good to still have you here. Let's keep going. Okay. So also, yeah. So why? But would you say, Lydia? I mean, you said a lot of people think their subconscious is in control of them. What do you think? I need to pin you down and actually ask you what you think about it, though, not just what a lot of people think. What's been your perspective, and is that change over time? Does it change, like as I was sort of describing? Does it change based on when you're looking at things, like if you're looking at yourself now or in the past? Does that have an effect on how much you view yourself having free choice, or is it pretty consistent? Or indeed, do you think there's a sort of blend between the two? Because I seem to think there's some kind of like blend, like a mixture between both.
Well, it seems like both are correct, doesn't it?
It always seems to depend on how much when you're looking at how you're looking at things. And I think because as Lydia's pointed out, it's hard to study this scientifically. It's not really a question that you can measure so easily, is it? How exactly do we get to grips with working out this kind of question? That's the point, isn't it? How can we test it? How can we know? Oh, what do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't. Off the top of my head, I can't see how it could be answered scientifically.
Right. Did you tend to agree with what I said, which was that it's not something that they're sort of born with, and it's something that has to be pried from the heavens, if you will, or kind of taken into your mind, through certain events or through certain practice, and that's the way you can have some amount of free will, some control. or do you think it's something that some people are born with, or all people are born with, etc., etc.? Like, what kind of view do you have of it in that sense? And
Well, it seems like
oh,
children have the ability to be. There's no point if I can't actually speak, so. Can you hear me?
yeah. It's just like there was like a delay. I don't know if that was you delaying or if that was
Oh,
right.
I
Just
thought you
go.
said that you can hear.
No, I can't. It just like there was like a delay of like a few seconds before you started speaking. So just I don't know. That's just I don't know what's going on. But no, it sounds I can hear you.
I don't know.
Just go. Just go.
I don't know what I was saying though.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. I'll read the.
Right, no, I've got it.
Fuck.
Fuck's sake.
Right, go.
Yes, I hear you. Children, I think, can choose. Oh, fuck, what?
Just go. I'm just laughing because it's terrible. Right, go.
Oh, right. Well, I keep thinking it's going off because you're.
Go.
I think children can choose what they want. So I don't see how children don't have at least some degree of free will. But I do also believe it's something that you need to practice to get more, to be able to do it more. And again, like practice of being aware of things that aren't you, things that aren't you just deciding, things that are pulling you to places. But see, sometimes I don't even know.
Well, let me ask a question in response to that idea. How would you discern the difference between free will and the illusion of free will? Like if something was allowing you, or in some way you were being allowed to believe you have free will, but in reality you weren't making the choices.
Well, that's the kind of point I mean, because I don't really. Like, obviously I could say I want to go to the park, but, like, I don't really know what's influenced me to think that. Like, I might have watched a film last night with, like, a clip of a park in it, and then I had a dream about a park, and then I woke up and, like, wanted to go to the park, so I actually don't know if I do have.
And then the question is, how much is that your choice, and if it's been affected? Does that matter? Does it still make it your choice just because it was influenced? Or does a level of influence imply that that's, like, taking away some of your own choice to make it, you know? Also, just read that Lydia says, I think I have free will. I feel like I do what I want, but maybe there's a tiny otter in my head controlling me. I guess you wouldn't know. I don't know what an otter would specifically want, you know, but perhaps, yeah. I think that's the point, isn't it? We like, how do we know? Yeah, how do we discern that? Like, well, actually, yeah, asking that question, what do you think of that question? Say, like, if something's influenced you, does that matter? Does that make it like less of your choice to do something then?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
So in that sense, you know, does that mean, you know, that since we're influenced in some way to do everything, does that mean we don't have free will, or?
I think it definitely lessens the amount of free will if not completely taking it away. I think it lessens it, yeah.
And then going back again, because you say that children seem to inherently have free will, as in they can choose what to do. But I think previously you said animals don't, though. Is that true?
Yeah, well, I don't know, but yes, I'll go with that.
Like, so because I assume that what you meant when you say children can choose is, for an example, I could put cornflakes in front of them, or golden nuggets cereal, and they would choose one of the boxes based on their preference. But wouldn't that be the same as me putting like fish or beef in front of a cat, and the cat chooses which bowl it wants to eat from? So in that, I take it that is the sense you meant in which children have free will. Is that correct?
Well, I meant like choosing friends and stuff like this. Like they would have a. It would seem to be like, unless their parents have said don't hang about with Jimmy because he's a cunt.
Okay.
Like it would seem to be their own preference.
So if I could just again align some similarity with, so if say your cat, for example, it doesn't like this other cat in the neighborhood due to the fact that it attacks it, or it's mean to it in some way or something like that, but it's quite likes the other cat because the other cat doesn't attack it. Surely it will choose in that exact sense to hang around with that one cat, but not hang around with the cat that fights it.
Yeah, true.
can we not say in that sense that the cat exercises the same amount of free will as a child then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Well,
Yeah.
but you previously did say that animals don't have free will, but the children do.
I said I don't know, but I said I would go with that.
All right, but do you think does that sufficiently change your mind on that, or is that just one point, or what do you think of that?
Honestly, the further we get into this conversation, I just don't know. Like that's what
I'm not
that's
trying
what's
to
coming
win
up.
here. I'm just pointing out like what comes to mind when you say like children do, animals don't. So I'm trying to just clarify like in what way you mean children
No,
have
that's
free
good.
will. So
You're doing well. It's just
yeah.
you're clarifying that I don't know. Like when we started off the conversation yesterday, I thought like yeah, free will and a mixture of like not, but like I'm getting more to the point
Hmm.
where I just I'm not sure. It's quite confusing.
Okay. Well, it's meant to be confusing. That's the fun of the question, I guess. It's not really easy to answer, and none of us really are going to have like concrete answers over this. All we can do is really pass around thoughts, ask each other questions, and see what we can learn. Obviously,
So
with
you
this
think
kind of thing.
then that kids don't have free will?
Um, no, I didn't really state that because I don't think I really know much. Again, I'm in a similar state to you of just not really being
Okay.
sure. So I'm just asking the kind of questions that come to mind, and I was just noticing that animals in some sense can make the same choices that the children make, or kind of in the way you were describing children might have free will seems to be the same way animals could exercise free will. So, um,
Yeah, I think they're similar. Yeah,
hmm. Anyway,
like
also
they're on different levels.
welcome to the chat, butt seeking missile, who says hello again. I guess they didn't like my previous name after all, and I assume that is a heat seeking dildo. So I guess this new edited version, butt seeking missile, will hopefully be less offensive to whoever was offended by the original one, I guess. Also asks, how do you two know each other? We've met years ago during university uh, when you were originally studying art and I was studying
Okay.
psychology at university.
And David, I was friends with someone studying psychology who then met David um, because he'd forgotten his key, very much like him. So we have to
Mm.
all
Oh,
he
I had.
forgot his
Oh, that
key.
sounds like me. Yeah. Oh, right. Yes. That sounds like me. So sometimes it's good to lose your key, is what you're saying then.
Exactly. Yes.
Mm. uh, but how are you anyway? And please to answer the question. We were sort of just getting into things again on the question of do you think you have free will? And we were trying to work out as to what level do animals exercise free will? Do they have free will? Do children have free will? And do adults have free will? Is there a distinction between all three? And as to what level they can sort of exercise this, it seems to be the kind of way the conversation's going. So maybe you want to chime in and let us know what you think a little bit about this one. It's definitely a
David,
big
do
open
you
topic.
think you have free will?
Do I think I have free will? I
You
definitely think
personally?
that the way that I interact with the world, it appears to be that I can choose things. It appears to be that I have free will. But I will also say that I'm definitely influenced, and I'm not sure how that affects the free will. That's kind of what I was trying to ask as well. Is, how does being influenced and how does say things like external motivations or external factors, these things obviously lead us in some sense, and is to be
Yeah.
led to deny our own choice. If we're being led, if we are on a leash by these things, does that mean we are diminished in our own free will? It seemed to be we got to
Because
the answer maybe to some extent.
I think so. I think to some extent, but then when you think about things like, for example, like you watching like pro boxers and then being inspired by them and then wanting to follow in their footpath,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like you're being like chained and taken away, is it, by them? But
No,
and that seems like your choice because you've been inspired
right.
and you have chosen then, oh, I would like to do that. I could see myself doing that. I'll go and do that.
Mm-hmm.
That to me that makes more sense. Is that seems like a free will sort of thing. Um, but then other influences, I'm like, oh, that seems a bit more like it's not as much free will. I don't know. It's such a crazy question.
Would you say that the would you say that oh, what am I even trying to say? Would you say that we have a choice over what we're interested in?
No,
Hmm.
I don't think so. I can't see that because I've never had a choice over it as far as I'm aware.
Hmm.
And I cannot learn things I'm not interested in point blank, and that just seems to be the case.
And
And it's not even that my interests really changed either. I've always kind of been interested in philosophy, psychology, and I can now trace that looking back, like to when I was a kid, um, and like active stuff. Like it's all the same sort of things I'm interested in. I'll still never go onto the maths side or the technology side, or like it'll just never happen. So I feel like no. What do you think?
right, well, I still had a little bit more to ask as well, which was that is
Oh,
it not the case that we follow and spend most of our time doing what we're interested in?
yeah.
So if we don't choose our interests and they're completely not up to us, but then that's what we end up doing and following and taking our time to participate in, basically, let's say, then have we actually even chosen to do what we're doing in that sense?
I think we've chosen to act on it if we do, because some people don't act on their interests.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a choice, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's something else I was going to say as well. Oh, yeah. Do you think the way we view free will and determinism, is that the right word?
Right. Yeah.
Do you think we view it as if it's negative, it's determinism, and if it's positive, it's free will?
Um.
Because I see to see that a lot where
Yeah. People
that's
may
how.
people may use that in that sense. Well, I mean, that's going back. You've obviously will have studied that in psychology. The fact that people when they have success or when something goes well for them, they very much will attribute that to their own self, like their disposition or their choices, their ability or whatever it may be. But when something goes
Hard work.
poorly or not so well, they will attribute that to circumstances or to uncontrolled factors, sort of thing. So, I take it you came across that like with the psychology, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Do you think that's true? Yeah.
I think that does happen. Yeah, I believe that happens from my observations from people I've seen and people I've met. That does seem to be the case. Yeah.
So
So
therefore, then, sorry, just quickly, um, do you think then someone who's in a negative place in their life is more likely to believe in determinism, and then vice versa, someone who's doing well and is successful, they're going to believe more in free will? Do you think?
I say that is likely to be true. Yes.
Yeah.
On first thought, I would say that sounds true to me. Yeah. Also, just to notice that butt seeking missile, it's just as fun to read as the old name as well. Says it has a quote here that says, "Yes, I have free will. I have no choice but to have it." And that's a quote from Christopher Hitchens.
Yeah, that's a good quote, actually. That really sums up what the hell we're talking about.
You think so? You like that? Yeah.
Yeah, because fuck even knows.
But it's fun to explore, isn't it? Even though it's kind of hard to get your head around how exactly this works, isn't it?
It is, especially because your brain is so good at wanting to make you look good,
Mm-hmm.
like like externally and to yourself. So you can't really trust your brain half the time when it's like when it says something, you might be like, oh, okay, and then you're like looking, oh, are you actually saying that? Because then that makes you not look so bad.
Hmm.
So I think that's tricky with these kind of conversations.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems to me that going back on your point that people maybe who are doing negatively or in a negative mindset, and not doing very well, will see things in a much more deterministic light, which I do tend to agree with, and that
Mm-hmm.
the converse is true. If someone's successful, they will very much believe in their free choices having sort of brought them there. obviously their perspective, I think we can agree, will have no bearing on what the actual truth is of this matter.
No.
Right. But and to me it may seem that both have some end of the stick, but that to me sort of makes it sound as though there is this balance between the two, in the sense that anyone that is successful has definitely got there by the nature of some good choices they've made. That's for sure, and they've good characters and qualities and sacrifice, and yeah, things they've chosen not to do, for example, are just as important as what they've chosen to do. So there's another thing entirely.
Yeah.
But as well as that, there has to be some circumstantial luck, if you will, or some kind of help to that as well that brings them there too, whatever that may be, by the timing of when they've started their thing, by the people they've met. I think there's always something that kind of
Yeah.
helps them on that way too. And probably conversely, someone who's went very negatively, went very bad, certainly like a lot of that will be their bad choices and things again they've chosen to do or not chosen to do, just the same. But also, I'm sure there's a level of things haven't went well, and things could have went a different way and they haven't, and that's obviously going to affect their sort
Yeah,
of
because it
downward
really could be
trajectory,
the
isn't it?
difference of one good choice by the successful person and one bad choice by the unsuccessful person, and then both have just gone whoop from there. It's obviously not really going to be like that, but it could be that.
Mm.
And then snowball effect the opposite ways. So, yeah, I think there's definitely a link between both of them.
And you think so? So both sort of do affect us, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing I can say more for sure in my mind. Yeah,
Mm.
that both exist. Oh, maybe not. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. It's so confusing.
So you don't think one holds dominion over our lives more than the other, or do you think that it's an imbalanced structure, or it's exactly 50-50?
I can't tell. No, it's like because I will go to say, oh no, determinism seems like it seems a bit more like you'll be controlled by things because there's so many things that your body wants to be like doing for whatever reason or subconscious reasons. So that feels like there's more of that than your ability to choose freely. I suppose especially if you're choosing freely when it's to better yourself, and that means by sacrificing something. So again, that's like a hard choice to do. So say you've decided to stop drinking alcohol, like that's obviously a hard thing to do if you are an alcoholic or like drink a lot or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's a sacrifice and that's hard, you're obviously going to be making less of those choices than all the other things that are pulling you. It seems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I kind of think that, and then I'm like, I don't
know. Welcome to the chat, As a Kite. I hope that's right. 616, who says hello. Hello to you. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. We are doing a little discussion, a little chat today on the main question of, do you think that you have free will? And we've kind of went through a lot of different angles, some good points made in the chat, and if you're pleased to answer the question, then let us know what you think. But
what are your thoughts on the 50-50 split then?
On the split, I think I find it hard to understand things as deterministic, in the sense that, would that mean that we are just simply then an observer who's sort of sitting in our mind, and we're essentially just, we might as well be watching like a replay, like a rerun of what's already happened? Because for things to be deterministic, it almost means that it's already planned out, it's already going to have basically happened, and you're just watching it, sort of like you're just observing yourself do these things. So it definitely, within my experience, it feels as though there is more choice for me than there is not. But I think that the less you know yourself, the less you look at yourself and ask these questions, then the less free will you have.
Yeah, I agree with that part.
So it's not 50-50, it's not 50-50, well, at least not for everyone. I think it's a degree of free choice depending on just that, just how aware you are, basically. I think everything starts with awareness, and I think if you have no awareness, then you're no better off than the animals.
So do you think that basically it's, so if you took someone who's decided to sort themselves out, so they decide to like stop drinking, stop taking drugs, stop sleeping around, like a bunch of stuff that they've been doing that's shit, but like it's gonna be hard to fix, and then they actually stick to that and they improve themselves. And then do you think after that point of like say fixing like 5 pretty tough things, do you think they're like a whole lot closer to be acting more on free will from that point?
Well, by what I've just said, they necessarily must be, because the beginning of them making the change has to be awareness. There's no such change to take place without awareness in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, if it is true what I'm saying, that you must become aware to be able to exercise your free will, then very much so, yeah, that will improve their ability to exercise it, yes. I think so.
So then you would view people then who are drinking, taking drugs, sleeping around, blah blah blah, as animals without free will, and then you would view someone who has made sacrifice, let's say, just to put it kind of plainly, as someone who is exercising free will or has free will.
That sounds reasonable, yeah, in the sense that what better demonstration of free will can there be than to abstain from doing something? That how much more can you exercise choice than that, or display it, than to say I'm not going to
I
do
think
that in
it's
favor of this? So I would say that sounds reasonable. Let me also read what Asakite616 is saying, which is just one word. First of all, metacognition, and then says thinking about thinking, which is, I suppose, that is what we're sort of doing, yeah. Also, then he goes on to say, let's remember that the Bible doesn't discourage alcoholism. Drinking is very much condoned in the Bible. Is it? I didn't know. That was just
Well, I
one.
know there's wine and shit.
There's wine, yeah. I guess alcohol's existed there for so long, I suppose.
So do you think, as Kite616, that well, one, first of all, are you a Christian? And secondly, what's your thoughts on alcoholism? Do you think it's bad, good, you should drink, you shouldn't? What's your thoughts?
Also, if you're Christian, oh, not Christian, agnostic, says Asakite. Agnostic.
What?
I think usually how people would describe that as definition is saying like, I don't know. Is that how you
right.
describe it? I think it means I don't know. It's somewhere between the two.
Oh, that's me too then, if that's true.
I think I think that's how Askai will agree with me. That's how they're going to define it. That it means they don't know. They're not closing off the idea of there being God, but they don't. They haven't been sufficiently convinced that there's God. I think.
Or at least sufficiently like Christian God or whatever.
Oh, any God. I think. I think agnostic really just means that you're sort of in the middle, sort of on the fence about the whole thing.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Cool.
I get these terms, like, you can get a bit like people like to apply them in different ways. So.
Right. Okay. We shall see. Oh, I subscribe to Einstein's perspective. I believe in a God. I just spell it nature. That's nice.
I see. Yeah.
I kind of agree with you on that. I have to say. I do believe in a God, and nature's a perfect bloody example of God. So, I would agree with that. Yeah.
So it's like the natural world, the nature of the world.
It makes me feel God, whatever that is. At least what humans seem to be meaning when they say God, anyway.
Lydia also says apatheism, as in, well, does that come from apathy, for being apathetic? I suppose. Is that right? Well, I'm probably missing the point. What do you think? I think that's like your own school of being apathetic towards things. Is that right? Or maybe that's actually a proper thing and I'm just being an idiot. Who knows? It's quite likely.
I don't know. I don't know many words.
Yeah. Also, then Askite says, additionally, Neil deGrasse Tyson does a very good job of describing how our bodies are the products of stars. In the deepest of sense, we are the universe contemplating itself. So we're getting very sort of is that metaphysical? We're getting very sort of
I like this
into all
shit.
this
I
now.
like you bringing this up.
So
Thank you.
Asukites, you're sort of exactly who we're looking for in the stream, bringing a bit of your wisdom down here, enlightening us all. So
And
could
if you don't mind, and if it's not, well, I don't know how much you could put it into words, but what does Neil deGrasse Tyson kind of say? Is it like we have the same sort of God? I don't know any of these words, but do we have like the same sort of properties in the stars and us? Like, or what kind of things does he say about that?
right.
I'm curious.
And also, if maybe you could do your best attempt at answering the main question, which was, do you think you have free will? It seems to always bring up interesting ideas from everyone. It did certainly last time. An apatheist, Lydia says, is someone who's not interested in accepting or rejecting any claims that gods exist or do not exist. The existence of God or gods is not rejected, but may be designated irrelevant. And that's Lydia's thoughts on God or gods. Just simply don't really care to engage in the question of it, basically.
Well, I suppose, yeah, not interested. Okay. Yeah.
Kind of irrelevant. It's not really something that's going to affect your life, I think, is the angle you're taking it from.
See, I'm kind of like agree with except from the not interested part, because I am interested, but
Not interested in accepting or rejecting the claims, is what it says.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously I'm in the field of don't know, but I also still believe there's some sort of God, meaning, light, purpose thing.
Asakite says the actual elements that make up our bodies are formed inside stars: carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen.
Yeah, I think I've heard a bit about that before.
Right. So that's to say we actually are made up of the stuff that originates from basically within stars. We're made up of that stuff, basically.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for explaining that. That's great.
Yeah, we have like a resident scientist now on board with the stream, which is always very helpful. Yeah, I'm not hugely scientific. I don't know a whole bunch about the stars and the cosmos and so forth. So it's good to have someone who's into that as well.
Yeah.
So they were actually made up of those elements, made up of the stars.
What do you think about that, David?
That's quite fun. I guess it's quite kind of fun. Lydia says, pretty much I accept the possibility of a god, but it doesn't affect my life in any way, so I don't think or care about it. And then has a cat that's sort of looking sideways. I think that is actually a cat rather than an owl on this occasion.
I think that one
is a cat.
And so, are you spiritual in any way, Lydia? Like, do you do any sort of spiritual rituals or anything that could be linked to spiritualism? Since it doesn't seem like you've got any kind of God influence in your life, so I wonder if there's anything alternative to that.
Mm-hmm. This is a cat, by the way, as well, apparently.
Good.
Yes, just a good clarification. This is a cat. Yeah. That's a total